this is how to make a bound buttonhole. The first thing you'll need is your garment, or if you're just practicing, you'll just need a piece of fabric and 2 smaller pieces of fabric, and this will eventually become the flaps for your buttonhole. So you'll need that. You'll need thread that matches your fabric and a way to sew it on. You'll need an iron and some pins and something to mark your fabric with, and some shears. So the first thing you'll need to do is take your 2 smaller pieces of fabric and press them in half lengthwise, like this. So that's how it was. Then once you get your 2 half pieces, take your garment or your practice piece of fabric, and on the right side of your fabric, the good side, mark where you want your buttonhole to be. So I've done this already, and if you look, you could see that blue line is where I marked where I want my buttonhole. And then I've taken my 2 smaller pieces of fabric that are going to be the flaps of the buttonhole and laid them with the raw edges together. So this is the fold line and this is the raw edge line, and I put the 2 raw edges together. Then pin that down, and you're going to mark a rectangle. And the way you mark the rectangle is by measuring the width of the flap of fabric, and whatever the half is, mark that down the center, and the same thing for the other side. And then the 2 ends of your rectangle are just the length of your button, or the length of your buttonhole. Then, once you have everything marked and pinned, you're going to sew down the long sides of your rectangle, which is the middle of your flap, the center line of your flaps, and that should look like this. And once you do that, once you've sewn down the center of your flaps, you can turn it over and you'll see 2 lines of your thread. Then from those 2 lines, you're going to be marking that with these 2 Y shapes. You're going to make a Y shape from the 2 corners to the center, and then an upside down Y shape to the other corners. Then, once you've made those markings, you can cut along the lines. So it'll look like this. And then you're going to take, this is a better example of what it should look like. Then once you've cut it, you can turn it over, and it should still look the same like that. You're just going to take them and fold them in. So you're like folding them inside out. Now you can start to see the shape of the buttonhole, and you can see these little triangle things sticking out. Just tuck those in. And then if you fold this over, you could see that triangle against your 2 flaps, and you're going to want to sew on the base of the triangle right there. And I'll show you that. This is my finished one. As you can see, I've sewn on the base of the triangle. And make sure you backstitch every time you sew. I'm just going to do that to that side, do it to the other side, and then once you press everything down, you should have a bound buttonhole.